That's bright enough. Good evening. Hopefully this works. I've tried tilting the camera on its side this time, see if it uploads a bit better for you all. If it's sideways, let me know so I can change it up pretty quick. Tonight I've decided to try some beer instead of some wine. I went down to the local alcohol shop to see what they had special-wise on the wine, and the guy recommended I try this Moondog Lager. It was the last 6-pack on the shelves. He said they constantly keep selling out, so it must be pretty good. $16.99 for a pack of 6, which is really good. So shout out to the guys down at My City for recommending this. If everyone's in lockdown and wants to join in, crack a drink, have a glass of wine, try some beer, join on in. This is Moondog Lager. It's pretty good. I'm not a beer drinker either, so it's pretty strong. It's not as fresh as, say, a Corona or a Big Head, but that's a good beer. It's a very good beer. So let's see if Matthew Mcconaughey jumps on this video. That would be phenomenal. Hello, Michelle. Thanks for jumping on. This video, I'm going to talk about a book, Broden, which to be honest with you, it's probably the best audiobook I've ever listened to, and I've listened to way too many to count, but I think by the end of this, you're probably going to be downloading it or buying it and jumping on and having a listen to it yourself. Thank you everyone for jumping on. If you missed it, Moondog Lager tonight, really, really good. It's on special down at My City. I grabbed the last 6-pack, but I'm sure they've got some more coming in. So, Matthew Mcconaughey 12 months ago released Greenlights. It's semi a biography, semi a motivational book. Sort of talks about his life story and gives a lot of tips and discusses some of the struggles that has led him to where he is. And to be honest with you, I never really thought of Matthew Mcconaughey as someone that would have struggled in life or has been through some of the things he'd been through. So I'll go through a few of those things. Can I just say that 6.5 hours of Matthew Mcconaughey reading to you is it's different. It's amazing, to be honest with you. You know what he's like in films. He has the most unique voice that just draws you into whatever he says. He can be talking complete bullshit, and no matter what he says, you'll jump on and listen. And that's pretty much what happens in this audiobook. I used Audible, which is Amazon. Jump on. You can get a free subscription, a free trial, which gives you a free book every month at $16.99 or something a month. Or you can just pay for them. 6.5 hours this one goes for. It's really good, half an hour a day on a walk or driving to work. I think you'll really enjoy it. Something that I didn't realize is that Matthew Mcconaughey actually lived in Australia for 12 months, worked at ANZ Bank, which something that no one would have known. He came over on sort of like an exchange, student exchange things, and he lived with some absolute psychos down in Sydney. He was told that he was moving, when he came to Australia, he was going to be staying just around the corner from the beach. And when he got picked up from the airport, he ended up driving. It was 4 hours out through to Sydney to a town with 1,500 people on it. I'm trying to remember the name of the people he lived with. But anyway, it ended up being an absolute prank. The entire town knew these people were absolutely crazy. The parents ended up trying to force Matthew Mcconaughey to call them mum and dad for the 12 months he was staying in Australia, and bawled their eyes out when he said no. Just some really whack stuff. And on his last day in Australia, he was at the pub with all the other families he stayed with, and they told him then that it was a prank and they could have taken him out of that house at any point, but they wanted to see how long he would last. So I thought that was pretty cool. He worked at ANZ, he worked at a couple service stations down in Sydney. He spent a lot more time in Australia than what I ever thought, based on Matthew Mcconaughey. Thanks guys for jumping on, but I'll keep going with it. So one of the things that many people don't know, I guess, and I had no idea, I sort of just look at these actors that make it in life and assume that they've gotten lucky or they were born into that sort of role, but Matthew really wasn't. He started off, his dad was abusive. His dad would basically to make his kids a man would end up just fighting them or force them to do some pretty crazy stuff. One of his sons made it as a man the day that he knocked his father out with a 4x2 plywood after a massive brawl when his dad just wouldn't give up. It took to the point of going to hospital before he was accepted as a man in his dad's eyes. And Matthew McConaughey pretty much had to do the same. Excuse me. Matthew had to get into a bar fight with his dad and a bunch of other random people before his dad accepted him as a man, which is, you look at these days, if your dad was forcing you into bar fights before he'd accept you as his child, it's a different world we're sort of living in. His parents weren't wealthy. In fact, they were quite the opposite, pretty well poor. His first job came after he told his dad he wanted to be an actor, and he went to uni, had to pay for his own university because his parents couldn't afford the uni he wanted to go to. He was working at a bar. I think it was a strip club by memory, actually. And one of the people that came into the bar he was working at was, I don't remember his name. He was a famous director at the time, shooting a film in the area. And Matthew got him drunk, absolutely blind, drunk to the point he was dancing on tables. And he was about to get kicked out, and Matthew was drunk too because they drank together. And he ended up getting into a bar fight with the people he worked with. He left, and as he called the guy a cab, he ended up getting a job. That was his first ever film, and that led to his next films, things like Fool's Gold and things like that, which was just, you talk about luck and working hard to get you where you want. And he had a mixture. He had to work bloody hard based on this book to get to where he is, but he had a lot of shit dumb luck with people he would run into and his ability to network with through that time to get him to where he is. But I think I've listened to a lot of motivational books, books on people like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, and you look at the times that they went through, and Matt's been through the same sort of stuff. You know, his mum got cancer, went through some pretty heavy stuff when he was in Australia filming a film when he found out. It was just some heavy stuff in that book. But when he talks about green lights, he uses stop signs, which is sort of where the green lights come from, like red, orange, and green in Australia. I don't know what it is in America, where he's from, but he talks about just going from red to green. He talks every bad situation, every red light will eventually turn green. So every bad situation he'd talk about in life, he'd talk about how that turned into a green light. And I think that was really cool to see. Something I haven't seen in a lot of different books. So if you are looking for a motivational book or just something super interesting that, look, Matthew McConaughey reading to you for 6.5 hours, as I said at the beginning, it's a lot of fun. He sucks you into everything that he says and you believe every single word. It could be total bullshit, we don't know. But I don't think you can make some of the stories up that were in that sort of book. So, but look, I'm going to be doing these once a month. I need a new book. If you've read a book that you love, fiction, science fiction, it could be motivational, could be, I don't know, it could be anything that you think might be interesting. It could be the worst book you've ever read. So far, the 2 books I've read or listened to and reviewed on here have been 10 out of 10, something that I highly recommend you buy and you listen to. I'd love to read something that's shit, something that I can talk about on here that I say stay away from. So if you've got any recommendations, please put them in the comments below. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on Instagram as well. If you're on here and you have any questions, unfortunately, it doesn't look like Matthew McConaughey's going to be joining me. It was worth a shot, worth asking, worth tagging. But thank you so much for those that joined in. And if there's any questions about this film, or if you have any recommendations while I'm on here, or just any general questions, I'm having a beer, so jump on and ask some questions before I jump off. I also recommend these. Moondog Lager, worth a shot. I'm not a beer drinker, but these are bloody good. Alrighty all, fingers crossed, Sunday 4 p.m, at least the Gold Coast coming out of lockdown will be nice. Thanks for those that jumped on and watched, and keep an eye out on my stories for the next poll. Any recommendations, hit me up. Have a good night.